right, we are well over halfway done, assuming you've been doing your work as you go along. Let's move on to mistake number 4, which is ignore modern trends. Now, some of you may be aware of everything that's going on in the great big interweb out there, but for some of you who may be a little older, there may be some trends either in the internet or in the job search in the resume that you're not familiar with. So we're going to run through a few of these. The first one's an easy one. If you've got an objective statement, delete it. Period. End of discussion. Okay? Just shouldn't be on there. Why? Well, because every objective statement ends up sounding something like this. Seeking a position with a well-established and progressive company that will utilize my knowledge and skills. Well, you used a lot of fancy words to say what? I want a job. Okay, well, guess what? I already knew that because I'm looking at your resume. Okay, so just get rid of this, go right into the summary of qualifications or whatever you're going to use as a summary section. So instead of saying I want a job, you get to start off with here's what I have and here's what I can bring to your company. So a much better start to your resume with that. Another big change, bullets versus paragraphs. Now, I've heard people who are still saying, oh, it needs to be in paragraphs. Let me tell you, as someone who talks to people who read resumes, they hate paragraphs. Hate them, hate them, hate them. Here's why. Here's one of mine from ages ago. Do you want to read that paragraph? Heck no. It's a great big giant block of text that makes your eyes begin to water a third of the way through it, okay? Don't put your stuff in paragraphs. Look at the difference between this and that. Same words, just putting it in bullet makes it so much easier to read and easier to scan, which is what they're looking for, okay? In addition, we want to kind of clean this out. So first off, my first bullet says answered questions from clients and potential clients regarding services offered by literacy program. Well, that may be nice, but unless I'm working for the help desk of a library or answering phones, that's not really important. So let's get rid of it. Remember we talked about burying the lead. We want these in order of importance. Okay, let's look at our first bullet. Entered data and created queries to extract appropriate information for grants, reports, and presentations. Let's compare that to that third bullet. Create a GED program to meet needs of clients. Okay, one of those is really important. One of those is not so important. All right, and I'll give you a clue. The enter data one, not the important one. Okay, I still want it in there, at least for a lot of jobs, because it does show that I know how to use computers and more than just, using Google to search for stuff. If I'm creating queries, that says that I know my way around a computer, but I certainly don't want that as my first bullet. In the middle of that bullet there, it says locating sites. All right, that is 2 wasted words because no one knows what that means. If anything, they think it means I drive around and look and say, ooh, that place looks cool. Okay, so get rid of it. Now, if you're looking at getting rid of something and you say, wait, that's important. It wasn't just driving around. I had to go locate sites. They had to be near, centrally located where students were. It had to be free. I had to get them to donate the site. We had to negotiate what time we were allowed to use it. I had to make sure it was ADA compliant. There was a lot of work there. Okay, great. I believe you. Guess what then? Remember we talked about inference being a dirty word. You need to take that out and make it its own bullet. If that truly was an accomplishment you're proud of and that you think brings value, that's great. But it needs to be its own bullet at that point in time. All right, so let's see what our result is. We've crossed some stuff out. We've reordered it. Look how much better that looks now. It's basically the same. It's cleaned up. Got rid of about 20, 30, 40% of the words. Not as many words on the page. Got rid of some stuff that isn't as important. And it's organized in an order of decreasing importance so that as I scan, it's much easier to scan and see what's going on here. Okay, tied in with that bullets, we've talked about this already, but value versus job description. In the old days, you simply described what you did. You listed your responsibilities. In fact, as we talked about, some people would just take their job responsibilities and copy and paste it into their resume and be done. Okay, that does not fly anymore. I want to know what value you have. Okay, to put it another way, I want to know what makes you better than a typical employee. What are you going to bring to my company? What specialized knowledge do you have? What skills do you have? What experience do you have? What certifications do you have? What type of person are you? I'm looking for this information. Okay? So I worked with Tacoma Public Schools and they entered some basic bullets. As you notice, these are job descriptions. There's nothing there. You know, I'm going to be incredibly mean for a second. Let me warn you in advance, but enter data in a spreadsheet. Great. My daughter knew how to do that when she was 4. Okay. Serve students food. Congratulations. I'm visualizing a lady with a hairnet and a big ladle scooping mystery meat onto a shingle. Drove a bus. Hey, so did Otto from The Simpsons. Help teachers. Do what? You know, did you pass out cookies? Did you help kids go to the bathroom, walk them to the bathroom when they had to go? Okay, now that's incredibly mean-spirited. I've towards that in advance. But realize if you don't tell me anything about these, that's really the way HR is going to treat these bullets. Now, I worked with these people and we really beefed these bullets up. Notice the difference between them. Instead of just saying entering data, we're giving some numbers there. Tracked over 500 students and 10,000 pieces of data. Plus, I really like the verb tracked that they used rather than entered. One implies a little bit more substance there. Okay? Serve students food. Let me tell you, I've worked with the so-called lunch ladies at Tacoma Public Schools, and they work hard, and they have to do a lot of stuff. You know, they're continuously having to serve food to people, figure out a way to do it faster, figure out a way to meet more regulations, and figure out how to do it cheaper. So we tried to capture that, and here's what we came up with. Implemented food storage system resulting in 15% decrease in wastage. So in other words, I'm not just a lady with a ladle, I'm a lady with a brain. That's what I'm bringing to your company. Okay? Drove a bus, la-di-da, you may have driven that bus right into a truck. Here's what we wrote instead. Drove over 15,000 incident-free miles per year for 8 years. Okay? Now, I don't know a lot about driving a bus, but I gotta say, I'm impressed. If you drove a school bus for 8 years without a single incident, to me, that's pretty impressive. Okay? And then finally, help teachers. I talked to this person. It's a horrible bullet because they did so much more than that. For all intents and purposes, when the teacher left the room or when the teacher gave them assignments, they were the teacher. They just don't have the degree or the job title for it. So again, trying to capture that. Instructed the class, tutored students, previewed and selected curriculum. These are some of my responsibilities. It's not just helping a teacher, because again, that can mean handing out paper to students or crayons. So notice those ones on the right. We're really making an effort to say, here's the value that I bring to your company. Okay? To phrase it another way, we've already seen this slide, but what did you do that was over and above what the average employee did? Did you save money or earn money? You know, did you have ideas that the company implemented? Did we increase your responsibilities? Did you get promoted several times, get raises? You know, what is it that you did over and above the average employee? All right, another trend, another modern trend is the electronic trends, all right? And for those of you who aren't familiar with this, check your digital footprint out. Now, I know a lot of you already know this, but if you don't, check your digital footprint. What that means is basically Google yourself. It's a little more than that, but that's a good start, all right? Make sure that Facebook, you have your privacy settings correct and that you have stuff behind the privacy wall. Although honestly, in this day and age, assume everything will become public, because even if you somehow are able to navigate Facebook's ever-changing privacy settings, which change every 6 months so they can extract more information, even if you get it behind the wall, all it takes is one friend who's behind that wall to take the stuff and post it on their webpage, and it's out and it's public. So please don't post racist jokes, inappropriate pictures, don't like stuff that you shouldn't be hitting the like button on, because you really do need to assume that everything will become public. In fact, it's getting so bad, and this may become legal or illegal. There's court cases that are being tried, but we've had situations where either potential employees or current employees, as a condition of getting or maintaining employment, had to log into Facebook while someone stood over their shoulder, and they had to log in as an administrator and show them everything that was behind that privacy wall. Okay? So you've got to assume that anything that you post, pictures, comments, everything is going to become public, so be very careful of that. All right, let's talk about some good things for a second. There are electronic resources out there that can help you. First off, LinkedIn. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically a professional version of Facebook. It allows you to network and use resources professionally online. At a bare minimum, set up a LinkedIn profile. Okay? Use job boards. There's lots of job boards out there where you can search for jobs. One of my personal favorites is Indeed.com, but different people swear by different ones. Try some of these out. Okay? Some of you may have work that you've done. Maybe you've written something. Maybe you've shot videos, taken pictures, written an article, things like that, and you'd like that to be part of the job search process, create a web page and post this stuff online, and then simply put the links to it in your resume. This actually is becoming more and more common as people trying to create an interactive resume rather than the flat 8.5 by 11. Some other trends that are out there: do utilize the resources that are out there. You can research what are some current trends in resumes, maybe get some advice. A great site for that is Lifehacker. You can research the company. Glassdoor allows you to find out how does the company pay, what's typical salaries for certain positions, what's the corporate culture like, is it a good place to work for or is it a terror? You can find these things out. You can research positions by going to ONET. Okay, what's a typical day like? What's the salary like? What are the qualifications in order to get that position? And really important, you can copy and paste or use some of the language that you see there and put that in your resume so that you know that you're using industry standard language. Okay. Another thing you can do is have your resume evaluated. Now let me warn you on this. Resonate has a free trial period, and then it becomes $50 a month afterwards. So get your stuff lined up to use during the trial period. But what it allows you to do is you copy and paste the job listing or job posting into one column and your resume into another column, and then it goes through and evaluates and says you meet these requirements. These requirements are kind of weak, and these requirements you never even hit. So it's kind of going through your resume the same way a computer would for the company, seeing whether you meet the requirements or not. And the last one to recommend is something called TagCrowd. It's a minor thing, but I think it's a really nice thing to see how your resume impacts people. You can copy and paste your resume into it, and it will create a word cloud. And if you're not familiar with that, it's like the check mark you see on the screen, where the more you use a word, the bigger that word becomes, and the less you use it, the smaller it is. So copy and paste your resume into TagCrowd, and then see, do you like the results? Are the big words the words that you think should be big, and are these the words that the company is going to be looking for? If not, time to go back and rewrite your resume. There's lots of places that'll do that. I personally recommend TagCrowd because A, it's free, and B, it's really easy to tweak to do things like tell it to ignore words like Tacoma or Washington or something like that. So you can really zero in on what are my keywords here that I'm using. All right, so this wraps up mistake number 4. Almost done. Go forth, fix that resume, fine tune it, make it all sorts of awesome, and we'll see you back in a little bit for mistake number 5.